Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another wonderful tasting with the Virtual Tasting Society. I am Vadim Perlovsky, and today I'm excited to welcome Traverse City Whiskey Company. Joining us from Traverse City on location is Chris Fredrickson, one of the co-founders, or a co-founder and master distiller of the brand. Today we have 5 different expressions we're excited to dive into, including their famous American cherry expression. But we'll get to that at the end. We're super stoked for this tasting. We've been working on it for a while, so thank you so much for joining us, Chris. We have a wonderful group of folks here today, a lot of familiar faces, some maybe new ones. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us. David is the president of the LA Whiskey and Spirits Guild. David, do you want to say a couple words?
Be very happy to, Vadim. As always, thank you very much for all the hard work that you put into bringing us these truly unique, bespoke experiences. I think it's we really do appreciate everything that you do, all the work that you put into it, and welcome to those who are new. And Chris, welcome. We're looking forward to learning more about the brand.
Heck yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. Bless you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. Welcome, everyone. I think everyone's been here before. As you know, we're here to be nerdy and ask questions. So please participate, ask questions, toss them in the chat. You know how this goes. Make sure you don't unmute yourself unless you're talking, just so that we don't talk over each other. But if you do, I will mute you, so don't be offended. Just trying to keep it clean. But other than that, we're excited. We have 5 expressions in front of us. I'm going to go ahead and say the cherry one's going to be last. But Chris, do you want to tell us what order you want to go in?
Yeah. So I would love to start with our straight bourbon, which is it's a 4-year age straight bourbon, bottled 86 proof, age 4 years, and it's the staple to our portfolio. Be a really great spot to start.
Awesome. And then we'll go on to let me know. I'm just gonna put in the chat the order so people can pre-pour it and get going.
Yeah. Yep. So let's end to end. Let's start with the bourbon. Move to the North Coast rye, okay, and then to barrel proof bourbon, barrel proof rye, and then, as you mentioned, finish with the cherry dessert.
Perfect. So I had them in the right order.
Cool.
Yeah, mine were somehow in that order too already. I don't know how I did that.
And I'm assuming the barrel pick is at the very
Done
very
this a few times.
That's separate. Cherry.
Okay.
Any experienced wine drinker would pick that order.
Awesome. Okay, we're excited. Chris, please tell us all about yourself and all about Traverse, and we'll go along with it.
Yeah, from the top. If you don't mind, let's pour a pour. So just quick heads up. So my name is Chris Fredrickson, owner, co-founder, distiller. I am away. I'm off campus right now. I'm up at an Airbnb up in northern Michigan, up in the UP, and on vacation with my wife and some friends, and breaking away to do this tasting. And first of all, thank you for having me. Great to be here. Great to taste through this. I will have a hard stop in about an hour, but definitely want to dive into each of these expressions, share with your group kind of who we are, what we do, and field any questions, and just talk through the portfolio and see where it goes.
Awesome.
So yeah, straight bourbon. First of all, before I even open this bottle, one of my favorite things about our package is just the lovely noise that the cork makes when it breaks the bottle. But I've been trying to make that noise my ringtone for a bit.
You know what? We are in the Hollywood area of Los Angeles, so I'm sure one of our members could probably do that.
You know, that was a discussion. What's the more satisfying noise? The pop you get, or the glug you get when you pour?
Ooh, I like it. I mimicked it perfectly. Yeah, or the glug. Agreed.
Both. You need more ringing time. Both.
One's a ringtone, one's a text message.
Exactly.
It would have to be on loop, guys. It would have to be like looped a couple times.
So,
Carrie, can you make that happen, Carrie?
We'll talk about it in an hour.
can actually.
Let's get to the bourbon.
I was gonna say I can. I already did one in my podcast. You probably heard it. Hi, Chris. How are you?
Hello. So good. Great, guys. Great to be here. Just to crack the bottle and pour and sip on something while we chat. But the guys, the quick backstory of Traverse City Whiskey. We started the company back in 2012, a decade ago, with this bourbon. It was then and is now an MGP 4-year bourbon, and it's what we founded the company on back in the day. So I have two business partners, Jared Moti. We met at Michigan State University, and when we left East Lansing, Michigan, we moved to Chicago, or kind of around the country. And in that process, we began our professions. They were practicing attorneys. I was in management consulting, and we started our own professional careers. And a few years in, we kind of got burned out. And around 2012, so 4 or 5 years into my career, my great grandfather had patented several patents that my father and I found on our family's cherry farm up in northern Michigan back in 2012. And pretty cool realization. My partners and I, we were all whiskey fanatics, whiskey nerds at the time, or still are. But we, upon discovering these, chatted over a couple whiskeys. And you always have ideas, right? You always like talk about what this could be, what it could translate to. Fortunately for me, my partners and I were excited to not do our thing, which was our job at the time. And we spent the time to craft this idea called Traverse City Whiskey. So fast forward about a year, we launched this brand and launched this product, the straight bourbon, which 2008 MGP bourbon. It got us off the ground, and we launched. We sold our first bottle in Traverse City around July of 2012. And by the end of the first year, we realized that with traction, people like Traverse City Whiskey, they like the bourbon. We realized that we were onto something, and we decided about 6 months later that it was time to kind of do an all or nothing type of situation. And we decided to put all the cards in and double down and invest what we had into the project. And we created a brick and mortar location, a distillery, and everything that comes with that, a cocktail bar, aging area, bottling operation. And we kicked off the brand. And it snowballed since then. But the whole journey began with, one, the patents from my great grandfather. We found them, we created a brand against it, and have grown a lot since. But anyway, so cheers, I guess, to the group. Again, thank you for having me. What we're sipping on right now is a 4-year age straight bourbon, bottled 86 proof. This is what got the company started back in 2012, and has kind of been the building block for a lot of the portfolios since.
I have a question for you, Chris, if I could.
Yeah, please.
What were the patents? Actually, it's not my question. It's Jackie's question. But what were the patents for?
Yeah. So my great grandfather, John Stillhavy, he was a chemical engineer for Dow Chemical back in the day. And the patents that he had patented were for distilling techniques. And so we don't currently use those techniques because they're very outdated. If you go to the USPTO, you can actually track the life cycle of a patent and understand where it began, where it was used, and where it's at now. And he had 3 patents. It was all around fermentation. And so right now, everybody in the world uses a heat-based fermentation for kind of, after you finish your cook of the grain, you pass it out to fermentation and then to the still. But in between, there was like a freezing moment that he had patented that would help amplify the alcohol output and it's an old technique, not used anymore, and it's outdated. But that was what had been patented during the 30s and 40s.
So finding those patents on the farm or in the wherever you did, it kind of was like a spark. It was like the seed that was planted. It's like, okay, we may not, this is not something that's going to revolutionize the industry. Back then it was really important to protect it. But like you said, it's just kind of outdated and it doesn't work. But that's a great origin story. I think that's really neat. And are you guys still with your bourbon, your core, are you still sourcing, or are you planning to use your own make or do a combination?
Yeah, no, great question. So back in 2018, we were in the process of cutting over. So we knew that we wanted to kind of be, we wanted to remove ourselves from the MGP teat, so to speak, and we wanted to do it ourselves. We actually believed in the moment that we were so close to being away from it, and we'll get to this at the end of this conversation when we talk about the cherry whiskey, but the cherry whiskey ended up taking off and forced our reliance on MGP for the last 5 years. But we kind of, through the cherry whiskey and the growth of the portfolio generally, we ended up in a position where we realized we need to go a lot bigger and not rely on MGP at all. We're about 4 days away from breaking ground on our new facility up in Traverse City, where once we're finished and we're distilling full time, we'll be completely reliant on ourselves, and we will take our production capacity from what's currently 3 barrels a day, not much, up to 67. Not much. Frankly, it's not enough. And back in 2018, it was enough, but no longer is it anywhere near enough. But we're upgrading from a pot column combo, our current still. We're upgrading to a column, a 24-inch continuous column, and we're moving from 3 barrels up to 67 a day. And we're going to be big jump. Long overdue. We were supposed to be open 2 years ago. The pandemic, all that, slowed us down a lot, unfortunately, but we're almost there. 4 days away from the delivery of a lot of materials that help build our rick house, and then we'll break ground on the distillery, and it'll be great. But it's taken a long time to get here.
Excellent. Thank you for that answer. The next question is, I've heard people have not, somewhat similar stories. You get together, you pool the funds, and you get started. I mean, 2012, that was probably a really good time. The market hadn't really exploded the way that it had now. So when you guys started to go all in on this, I mean, is this something where, because you have to make a commitment to MGP to buy a certain number of barrels, and then you have to get them out there. That's a big leap of faith, because it's not, as I understand it, $100,000. It's significantly greater.
Yep.
And so you guys just went out and said, hey, did you have to go find the money, or did you all just say, let's just empty our bank accounts and dump it in?
It's a very intimate question, and the intimate and raw answer is we pooled our money on day one, and I think our total investment on year one between the three of us was less than 100,000, but close to. And a lot of people would have put the money in and made the money back and then turned the profit and just said, great, this is cool. We saw the cycle of the product and realized that we thought at the time, we were like, oh, we're onto something. So we doubled down. We took all the profit, reinvested, and we've been doing that since. And it's kind of been this cycle where it's revenue, profit, reinvestment, and then looking to the next phase. And 2012 was a wonderful time to get into the industry. Even, a hair before would have been great, but c'est la vie, right? We realized that we were in the right place at the right time. I've done some speaking gigs, and I've always kind of translated our success to an idea. And that idea is when you're building a business like this, you've got three things that drive your success. You've got the right people, you've got the timing, and you've got the money. We didn't have the money. We had money that we put into it, but it wasn't nearly enough for this game. The whiskey game is very capital intensive because you make it today and sell it in 5, 10, 20 years. But we had the right team, and the timing was on point by chance, which is wonderful. And we leveraged that, and we grew, and here we are.
Last question, then I'll let us get on to the next expression because I'm almost done with my first one, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're continuing to take the profits after you pay your expenses and kind of reinvest. Does that mean that the current business model is to be independent and that you're going to kind of hold off on being bought by a Budweiser? Because I looked at your website and I saw that you're having pre-made cocktails. I thought of, what's the place in San Diego, Vadim, that we had on?
Water.
Cutwater.
A place in San Diego.
A place in San Diego. Thank you for that. So I looked at and I'm like, holy cow, these guys are going to grow huge, and then some bigger fish is going to swallow them up. Or are you going to kind of stay in that lane of reinvesting and growing in a very organic manner?
The latter, 100%. We in the early days, the idea of scaling and selling was very attractive, extremely attractive, when we didn't know more about our families and our futures and all that. Fast forward a decade, I'm realizing that, I'm recently married, got the ring on, very exciting. We're realizing that, as my wife and I have kids and my business partner and I continue collaborating, we realize that, at the end of the day, not actually at the end of the day, the beginning of the day, when we wake up in the morning, the idea of like, what do you want to do? What do you want to stand for? Who do you want to be? That used to be, the idea of acquisition used to be very exciting and intriguing, but now it's like, we love what we do. It's a sexy industry. It's fun. We get to chat with folks like you, and I'm on vacation right now. I never take vacation, but I'm on vacation, and I'm happy to step away and chat with you and talk about TC whiskey and what we're doing and all of that. And there's not many industries, I think, that kind of cater to that idea. And so moving forward, the plan is to be family run. The plan is to continue our legacy and make sure that our kids have something like this to grow up with and then move into. And it's fun. We enjoy it. We love what we do, which is part of why we've, I think, been successful. Just diving into everything head first and sharing it with groups like you. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So are we on to the North Coast Rye?
Yeah, I think we did the bourbon. Now we're moving on to the rye. I don't know if you wanted to talk more about the bourbon, because you said it's a 4-year. I'm guessing it's a small batch. How are you keeping it consistent year after year? And I know we veered off into a financial kind of topic, but curious about more about the whiskey.
Yep. So the bourbon and the rye are very similar in kind of how they're batched. Bourbon and rye both 4-year. The batch 6-barrel blend. Typically we batch by weight, not by barrel, which is pretty common in the industry. But the goal is to establish a flavor profile, nose, finish and several components that make it dynamic, that make any of our products dynamic. And yeah, I think actually we step through the rye. I'll talk through the composition of the build more. But each of the products are built the same in the same way. And yeah, a blend of barrels right now. So the bourbon, 4-year age, 86 proof, blend of barrels that build kind of a harmonic finish where you're marrying all the senses together. The rye is built the same. So if y'all are ready,
So the rye is also MGP, right?
it is. Well, it's a blend between our own juice and MGP.
Okay.
So we took the MGP mash bill, the 95.5 recipe, 95% rye, 5% malted barley, and then blended it with our 100% rye. The differences here is we distilled both the 95.5 and the 100% rye. 100% rye, typically a bit more buttery, 95.5, spicier. Everybody that we knew at the time when we built the recipe back in 2014 was either a rye butter lover or a rye spice lover. And we kind of wanted to marry the two. The struggle between, like, how do you develop a product? How do you make it something that's market worthy? Our thing is, like, how do we stand out? How do we make a name for ourselves? And everybody was either leaning hard on one thing, hard on another. We wanted to kind of meet in the middle with the blend of the 95.5 and 100% rye. And mind you, 100% rye is very difficult to distill. It's annoying and unfortunate, but it does lead to a wonderful, tasty finish. So the North Coast rye, bottled at 90 proof, 45%. If you do make it up to Northern Michigan, back up to our tasting room, we do offer these products at a slightly higher proof, 2% higher per product. A little bit older, just a fun thing to treat our guests to. Yeah. So I guess cheers to a buttery, spicy blend of a rye whiskey.
Is your 100% malted or unmalted?
Unmalted.
Unmalted, and you're adding enzymes for the fermentation?
Which is a treat. Yes. It's babysitting to an extreme.
Yeah.
This is delicious. Now, depending on what batch you're sipping, you'll get a kind of a minty top note.
Definitely.
And that's the signature layer of the 100% rye.
Vadim, you're muted.
That's the way people prefer me.
Sorry for interrupting earlier. I wanted to wish you congratulations on your wedding.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Congratulations.
that married life.
I'm going through wedding planning right now, so
Stay ahead. Stay very ahead. Do not wait until
Same.
the last minute.
Don't do what I
grind,
did, isn't it?
It is a grind. Yep. So, gang, the North Coast rye, I poured like the smallest taste ever, but yeah, the North Coast rye was built in a way to be different, and in fact, most of the portfolio was built in a way to be different. The North Coast rye last year won a double gold at San Francisco International Spirits Competition, which is cool. Yay, North Coast Rye, killing it.
Big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's these days, it's not something that we take lightly. Like the bourbon, it's dynamic, fun, and it's what we play with the most in cocktails at our cocktail bar. Has anybody on this chat been up to Traverse City before?
Always wanted to make it up for training camp, but I haven't got it there yet.
I bet you there's one. Where is he? No. Jason. Oh, he's not paying attention. He lives in Michigan.
Yeah, Jason definitely roots for Traverse City. He was telling me all about it last week. After our last tasting, he was like, "Oh man, I can't wait for this next one." So that definitely good stuff.
He was telling me all about your
Yeah.
port finish that you were excited to release it, and then COVID, of course, ruined all those plans and all that jazz.
Yeah. Yep. So we're very hosting forward. We love whenever anybody here is ready to come visit Traverse City, email me directly. We love hospitality, love it. CF Chris Fredrickson at tcwhiskey.com. Email me directly. We'll take care of you. I promise. Pardon me. We've invested a lot into our hospitality program. It's significantly better to walk you through the warehouse and taste a barrel and talk about it on a Zoom. Although this is great, fantastic, but in person is way better. We're days away from breaking ground on our new facility. Again, we're going from 3 barrels a day to 67 barrels a day, and our new it's not even a facility, it's a campus, which includes a very extensive visitor center component, guest experience component. Come see it, come check it out. We're breaking ground in a few days, but a year from now, it will be the largest family-owned distillery in northern Kentucky. And right now the plan is for one 24-inch column, but we're talking right now about doubling that and just making the double down happen in a way that's significant to the industry.
You just brought up something, because I've been to Bardstown in Kentucky. So have you been
Yeah.
there?
I have. Yep.
So they have a massive column still, and it's
2
going on
actually.
Yeah, that is just pumping it out. And when I was there several years ago, I learned that they were adding more fermenters. So
Yep.
I could be wrong about this, but you could have the column stills, because those things just go all the time. You'd need to have the capacity for the fermentation, which is probably one of the more important components.
Yeah. So it's so funny you mentioned that, because the David Mendel, who started Bardstown Bourbon, crushed it with a vision. And David was smart enough to have the foresight to say, if we're going to do this, let's at least plan for what would happen if we were to double. And during our visioning process for the new facility, and our engineers and architects are about to kill us, because somewhat last minute, we're saying the exact same thing, not to that scale, because Bardstown's running 2 36-inch columns. We're running 2 24, or the plan is to run 2 24-inch columns, but the philosophy is the same. And it's been so interesting watching the trajectory of what is happening in the industry and what Dave Mendel has birthed, and how that's translating to everybody outside of the MGP umbrella. Brilliant, fun. Fermentation is a big part of that, huge part of that. I mean, grain fermentation to distillation to even just barreling. And then if you're making, the fun part is like, okay, so you're making 67 barrels a day. Where are you going to put them? It's a lot of, that's a lot of barrels, right? And And you find shops like Bardstown or Wilderness Trail, they're building a new rick house. It feels like every month. Fun to watch, but also fun to learn from. And we're kind of in that learning position right now.
How many people are on your staff?
Right now, so we have two tasting rooms and our distillery, total of 32 people.
And are you the only distiller, or do you have a team?
Team, one other person that helps with distilling. But we're, in the next year, we're growing the staff from 32 people to 93 people. And things are about to get weird in a really great way, but yes.
Have a good human resources person.
Totally. Yep. Gang, are we ready to move on?
Yeah, let's do it. On to the
Not move on, but like continue on the saga of the whiskey journey.
We're doing the bourbon, right? Barrel proof bourbon now.
Barrel per bourbon. Yep.
Nice.
So the bottle that I have is 58.3%.
Ours is 57.4.
Okay. Yeah. When we batch typically in barrel, like five or six barrel batches. And it sounds like I'm just a little bit behind you.
Yeah, most of us have at least a set of 6 Glencairns, so we can pre-pour and get those
Smart.
babies to open up.
Smart.
Well, we've been doing this for a long time.
How long?
Vadim?
We started, the virtual started in April. A lot of the people here have been drinking long before I could drink. But the virtual we started in April of 2020. And then about 135 brands since then.
What are you saying, Vadim? I just turned
Wow.
21 last week. How dare you?
I wasn't talking about you.
You all been drinking long before me.
He was talking about me.
So Chris, I'm actually in Michigan. I'm down in Oakland County, and so
Heck yeah.
I get to hang out with Vadim and everybody, and so I was so happy when I saw they were doing your stuff. I will say, as a brand, your standard offerings are amazing, but I don't know what happens, but when you guys hit barrel proof, like gorgeous things happen.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Thank you for saying that. I completely agree. The barrel proof bourbon that we just poured, 2019 won a double gold best in category at San Francisco. It's something that we love and cherish. The barrel proof bourbon. So this is a completely irrelevant story for this context, but the barrel proof bourbon is why we had to initiate new rules for our production employees. Every production employee at Traverse City Whiskey is entitled to a shift drink per shift. And we were running the numbers after a few months of growing, and the numbers said that we have a problem because our production staff was going to the tasting room, and it wasn't a cocktail. It wasn't a pour of the bourbon or the North Coast rye. It was a pour of the barrel proof bourbon or the barrel proof rye. And it wasn't 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. It wasn't this limited thing. It was like everybody. And so we had to develop a new standard that said, you are entitled to a shift drink, but, and there was just the but that governed how we were going to do it as a team. Because our team, they work around it all day, and 1 or 2, like our master blender and his assistant, they taste a little bit, but we have a blending spit policy. I mean, you're drinking, but you're not drinking on the job. So we said, gang, please. I mean, let's be professionals. Everybody's going to be a pro. And we began governing how the barrel proof bourbon and rye were used on site.
Did you have to tell them you're not in the Royal Navy, friends?
The biggest problem with something that's old and the barrel proof bourbon is between 5 and 6 years. The biggest problem is you make it today and sell it in 5 years. You can't make more. We're not the Royal Navy. You can't just make it happen. And it's a problem, but it's also an opportunity. And the barrel proof bourbon is fun. We do a lot of single barrel picks with the bourbon and rye. The nose, the taste, the flavor, the mouthfeel is lovely. And after your palate's warmed up, it's fun. So what makes MGP bourbon, MGP rye different than in our house, different than somebody else, right? When you crack this bottle, so my sample is 58.3%. When this went into the barrel, it was 60%, 120 proof. And that's like across the board, MGP has a barrel entry proof of 120. You go down to Kentucky, you'll find any MGP barrel at 120, 125, 130, 135, and it's this thing, and it's great. However, in northern Michigan, we have colder temperatures, we have a high relative humidity, and in the barrel, you have two things, right? You have ethanol and you have water. One of those two is going to evaporate over the years. And with a high relative humidity, in our world, you lose ethanol first, which is unfortunate, but it leads to a significantly more dynamic flavor profile than what you'd find in Kentucky. The reason being, we have 4 seasons in northern Michigan. And as the temperature increases, decreases, you have this fluctuation of temperature, which leads the whiskey to expand and contract in the barrel, into the wood, into the oak, in and out, in and out, in and out. It gets hot, the barrel goes into the wood. It gets cold, the barrel extracts back and forth, but more often than not, over a different climate, like middle of Kentucky, middle of Tennessee. And so these barrels, the bourbon and the rye, have been with us. They typically are with us within a few months from the conception of the product or the barrel until it's harvested. Lives up in northern Michigan with a higher relative humidity. And when we harvest it, it is significantly more dynamic because of that temperature flux than it would be otherwise.
No, a lot of people in the comments in the chat are saying really great things about this.
Awesome. What are you hearing?
They're trying to find out where the El Cerrito barrel pick is and if there's any more of it, which is a big compliment, because when people start, that means that folks are online right now trying to buy it.
Awesome. The El Cerrito
as a kid. Yeah, I'm getting after sip, it took a while for it to open up. It was a little on the nose, it was a little locked up for me, but after a few sips, for some reason I'm getting like red Kool-Aid, like a cherry Kool-Aid on the nose. Like candy, like powdered candy, like very, very American confection stuff. It's interesting.
I think that's the first time I've heard that tasting note or nosing note, Vadim. So kudos to you. Jason, you can steal that.
Done. It's mine. I'm patting it. I'm doing a patent right now.
My great grandfather is rolling over in his grave with the patents.
Make sure you write red Kool-Aid, not any of the other kind.
Yeah. I offered to send Vadim some of the special bottles we've got in Michigan, but we also realized that would just be teasing you all since none of them are actually available outside of Michigan.
Right.
We have a mule train.
Exactly.
But now Jason is happy to help everyone facilitate bottles. Now that you will want some.
Absolutely.
Thank
I gotta
you,
tell you,
Jason.
just you have no idea what you're missing between their gin and their barrel proof port, wheat, and cherry. I mean, just they're doing God's work.
Oh, and you're dropping the bomb about the cherry, the
Oh,
barrel proof cherry. That's almost unfair to this group.
it really,
Right.
hell,
I
it's
guess I'm
unfair for
stopping at
us.
a
It's
liquor
hard enough
store
for
and-
us to get it.
I'm stopping at a liquor store in Michigan when I drive through
Yeah.
later this year. All right.
We release our barrel proof cherry, which is a selected blend of 5 barrels infused with Montmorency sour cherries. So we take it's like a cheesecloth or a tea bag, steep the fruit into the barrel proof bourbon for about 24 hours, pull it out, bottle it, and it's an annual release in August.
Oh, you need to just stop talking now.
Part
Sorry.
of the cherry festival. I think you guys have the video from this year still posted on Facebook.
We do, yeah.
It's a great little kind of end of cherry festival thing that they did. They made these great little kits to be able to try it. But you guys are going to taste the cherry you're going to taste this evening is really amazing. But it's like everything else. As soon as it goes barrel proof, man, it starts unlocking brand new things.
Yeah, I won't dive too deep into it because we're not tasting it tonight, but the barrel proof cherry is our annual release. It's fun. In 2020, the National Cherry Festival up in Traverse City was canceled. So we reacted and we launched the first annual Cherry Whiskey Fest. And that was how the barrel proof cherry was birthed. And we did it because it was a joke for what I mean, what distillery blends aged 5 or 6 year aged barrels together and then infuses fruit into them? Nobody except us during the pandemic. And we tried it and it was wonderful. And it will continue to be a thing. Every year last year we did the 2nd annual Cherry Whiskey Fest. This year with the 3rd annual. And it's tasty. We launch it in a 750 ml on the shelf, and then in the kits that you were just chatting about, we send out kits for the Cherry Whiskey Fest every year. And I think last year we sent out 1,000 and had an incredible event. It was so much fun tasting it, talking about how the cherry tree evolves and how we shake the tree, blend that fruit into the whiskey, and it's a lot of fun.
You do what with the tree?
Shake it. So when a cherry tree is grown, it has to mature for about 7 years, and then after it's mature, you take it. It's called a cherry shaker, and it's a piece of farm equipment that is a hydraulic arm, grabs the tree, and then gyrates. So it shakes it, and the fruit falls off onto a platform, is reeled into a harvester, and then put into a tank, and then sent to a factory. Fun
How do we get our
facts.
hands on some?
And what you're saying is, as a kid, when I was forced by my parents to climb onto a tree and pick them one into a bucket, that was just for no reason.
No, what that does is that bursts character.
Yeah, keep shocking. Fine. Tell that to my broken arm.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. I was driving a forklift at age 12. Forced manual labor, but yeah, that's a thing in Northern Michigan. Yeah, you can pick by hand if you're forced to, but of course, use the shaker. Okay, gang, moving on. So, barrel proof bourbon, tasty. Barrel proof rye. Does everybody have that sample handy?
Yes, sir.
All right.
So our rye is at 58.8.
Okay, and I'm at 56.2.
Aha. I wanted that extra percent back from the bourbon. Are they?
It's pop.
So the barrel proof is also MGP, right?
It is.
Okay.
It's a blend of MGP and our 100% rye.
But only on the rise, but the bourbon is all MGP.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So the rye has accolades as well. The same year that the North Coast rye won double gold, the barrel proof rye won a gold. In full transparency, the barrel proof rye is why this rule with our distilling crew is created. Too many people came in and asked for a double barrel proof rye, neat. And when you only have so many barrels, you only have so many barrels. You find that nice blend of spice and butter, but and that minty nose, floral, kind of that clover. What tasting notes are y'all picking up?
Happiness, rainbows.
Fair enough.
Jane, what do you think?
That was good.
Vicky, where have you been on our virtual tastings?
I've been on a couple. I did Frey Ranch recently.
I was not on that one. I missed that one.
Yeah, and then quite a while back, I did another one. I can't even remember who.
I can't remember most of them, but Lori can. That's why she's here. She takes notes of every one of them. So thank you, Lori.
Nice. Oh, it was a distillery, Pacific Northwest, and they play music to some of their whiskey. I know
Is
that
that
was this
Doc's?
group.
Westland?
Blackened.
We can talk about that in a little bit. Let's get back to the rye that we're
Okay.
that is absolutely fantastic. I'm loving
Also,
it.
this rye makes amazing cocktails because the rye actually still shines through.
Mm.
Yeah, lots of dried fruit.
Why this was an
So
issue
good.
for your staff. Hmm.
Sorry.
I said I can see why this became a problem.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%.
Cheers on this
Yeah, tons of dried fruit, like dried cherries, apricot. So good.
What's
I get the apricot
price
as
point
well.
on a bottle?
75, I think, in LA.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, about
Yep.
$79.99, actually. I looked it up.
There you go.
Wow, this is a big boy.
Take that up to working all day.
Is the barrel proof also a blend, or is it just MGP? I'm sorry if you said that, I didn't
It
hear.
is.
And I apologize.
The barrel proof rye is also a blend of our 100% rye and 95.5 of that
Yeah.
MGP 95.5. Yep.
All right, cool. Because I was tasting that mint note, and I was like, am I imagining it, or is it there? All right, cool.
No. Yeah. It's
So
not
are you-
a phantom mint.
So how does that work? You get barrels of MGP, and alongside those barrels, you're setting aside barrels of your own stuff and then blending them in at the 6-year mark.
You got it. Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Is it equal parts of each one, or are they doing it, blending it by the barrel?
50-50.
Okay.
And these are readily available, Vadim, or are they just like at K&L, Mission?
I think Lori found a better source than I did. I was having I found the bourbon, but I was having a hard time finding the rye. I think it comes and goes.
Danny has them at Village.
There we
Does
go.
he?
Yes, he does. He's the one who turned me on to the cherry. He
Really?
goes, I think you'll like this. Damn, I do a lot. So yeah, I think he has them all. In fact, I'm going over tomorrow to see.
Sorry, did you actually get the actual cherries too?
Ooh, the cherries. You got them.
I got them, of course, Chris. You told me they were great during our podcast, so I had to get them.
They were great during the podcast, and they're still great.
They are so great. This is not my first jar.
Appreciate that.
Wait, Carrie, that's not your first jar?
No,
Wow.
they're great.
I did not get any cherries.
September of 2020, so I can't be.
Do I need to move on from my Woodford cherries?
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
I moved on from.
Oh my goodness.
I did. I upgraded from Woodford to Traverse City cherries.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So guys,
Order them online. Oh, sorry, Chris. Do we order them online or?
Still the Italian cherries.
yes. Yep. Amazon, on our website, either or. I will say, gang, so we take a lot of pride in our company culture, and we have one policy that I hold very close to my heart. If you talk shit, you get fired. Do not speak ill about a competitor ever. And I believe that. I think that rising tides raise all boats. I believe that we can all help each other be better no matter what. With regards to us, not in contrast to anybody mentioned on this podcast, but us in contrast to anybody generally, I will say, and I'm just posturing for the next expression, but Traverse City is the cherry capital of the world. There are other groups across the world, specifically Italy or in Kentucky, that do cherries. We do cherries better than most. And I'm not going to name names, not our thing. I will ask that if you enjoy cherries that are part of your cocktail, either as a garnish or you have a syrup on your yogurt in the morning, or whatever it might be, please try our cherries. They're great. And they should be great because they come from the cherry capital of the world. They are not grown on my family's farm. The cherries that go into the cherry whiskey are grown on my family's farm, but our neighbor grows the Balaton cherries that go into the cocktail cherries that were just held up, and they're tasty. And if you're a fiend, try them. I hope and pray that you enjoy them.
I agree with you, Chris. Never talk bad about anybody. And I think the Woodford cherries are fantastic. But now that
Yep.
I found yours, you got to upgrade. I still will get them.
Thank you.
But
Thank you for saying that.
I will order your cherries whenever I can.
Thank you so much for saying that. That means the world. It really does.
I have added them to my Amazon shopping cart.
Well, I'm on their website and I'm filling up my cart on their website with simple syrup and all kinds of other stuff.
Making money, Chris.
Heck yeah.
Hey, Chris, do you guys distribute in Texas yet?
Great question. Sensitive topic. Yes.
Yeah, because
Yes.
yes,
we do.
but
Our whole portfolio will be live in days.
okay.
Not weeks, not months, but days.
Any,
So we will have. Go
Any
ahead.
particular distributor or retailer in Texas? Because I'm telling my buddy in Dallas, and he is fiending after my reviews.
Yeah. Is it Twin or Specs?
Specs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Specs. So go to Specs. In days, they'll have the portfolio.
Wonderful. I will let him know because he is jealous right now. So you'll have a customer in Dallas momentarily.
Yeah, we just switched distributors, and we're making our 2022. One of our 2022 goals is to make a dent in Texas, in the country of Texas.
I bet those cherries would be a great glaze on some barbecue.
Oh, yeah.
Not in Texas. That's fighting words. Kansas City cherry.
All right, as we move on to the dessert of the
Yep.
night that everyone's been teased on for the last hour. Everyone hop on camera. Let's take our usual photo for just a second. There we go. And since I'm going to include my host tonight, who has graciously opened up his bar for me to join you all, Chris, John, Shane, Kelly, everyone, raise a glass. Make sure you get something in your glass. Raise a glass. Cheers to Chris. Cheers to Travers. Thank you, everyone. Raise a glass.
Cheers. Very nice clink.
Fantastic. I got that one.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
Wonderful. So last but certainly not least, our American Cherry Edition. Does everybody have room in their glass for one more pour?
These
We
are
got
lots of
delicious
glasses.
sound.
I'm adding a cherry to mine.
Oh, stop with the cherry flexing, Carrie.
Just rub it in, Carrie. Rub
You're
it
a-
in.
You're a
next
wild
time y'all
woman.
Come over to my place and y'all can all have a cherry.
Okay.
I'll have my cherry. Ha!
Ah,
I will say,
Ordinarily, I wouldn't.
Carrie can back me up on this. I think the thing that makes your cherries really nice is the focus on the cherry rather than the sauce itself. Like, it's a good
Yeah.
sauce, but it's a really good cherry.
And it's a
Heck
big
yeah.
cherry. It's a nice big cherry. Like, you don't need to put like 3 in because 1 is big and it's delicious.
I'd say it's not about the size, but it is about
It
the
is
size.
about the size.
And so fun fact, in the cherry world, you have 3 different size segments. You have 16, 18, 18, 20, and 2022. Our cocktail cherries are 2022 size. They're 20 to 22 millimeters in diameter. And generally it goes a long way with the garnish. So if and when you have the opportunity to try them, please try them and enjoy them. The cocktail cherries are a Balaton cherry. I know that not all of us have it, but the Balaton cherry is birthed in Hungary and is only grown in northern Michigan. It's kind of our thing. It's a rare variety, and it has what I refer to as an elegant crunch. So when you bite into it, it has a body. It doesn't dissipate. It's not meaty. It has volume, which is great. The difference between the cocktail cherries and the cherry whiskey, the cherry that goes into it is the cocktail cherries are a Balaton cherry. The cherry whiskey that we all just poured is made with a Montmorency sour cherry. And the Montmorency is the native cherry of northern Michigan. It's everybody grows it. It's easy to grow, but it's very specific to our climate. And we take the bourbon that we started with, we dilute it down to 70 proof. We infuse the fruit, the cherry, into it, and then bottle it. There's a heavy nose. For whatever reason, there's a very strong cherry nose. And it's kind of a punch in the face. And you think, wow, this is going to be an overpowering Jolly Rancher or whatever. But the fact is, the flavor lends itself to cherry with, whiskey with a hint of cherry, not cherry with a hint of whiskey.
I was expecting a lot sweeter, and
Yeah.
it's really very enjoyable. I'm just curious, why do you dilute the whiskey before infusing the cherries instead of the other way? I would expect that to infuse at a cast strength, you'd get more flavor out.
Right. And you don't actually. It's we tried higher proofs, and what you end up with is the amount of ethanol in the whiskey ends up like deteriorating the body of the cherry. So if we do the steeping process at a higher proof for too long, right? Like this is a week infusion. So 7 days. The barrel proof is at 1 day. It's so subtle. But the bottle proof is 7 days. And if you do a 7 day maceration at a higher proof, it cuts away at the integrity of the cherry.
I really enjoy the fact that, you know, you get the cherry, you get the bourbon, even though it's a lower AVP, you still get that amazing mouthfeel that you get with a higher proof bourbon, which really surprises me with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything added besides cherries and bourbon and water?
There's a natural and organic agave nectar. So typically, if you do an infusion like this, you end up with the root flavor of cherries is almond. So if you strictly infuse the cherries at 70 proof for 7 days, you end up with an almond whiskey. But if you add this natural and organic agave nectar, you end up with cherry whiskey. It makes the cherry pop. Kind of an unusual balance, but it's something we learned as we were doing R&D.
Like adding salt when you're cooking.
Exactly. Yep.
What I like about this whiskey, it's a flavored whiskey, but it's an all natural flavored whiskey, where other flavored whiskeys are so fake and so sweet and so overly done. So anytime anyone ever talks about flavored whiskeys, I always tell them, forget about that. You need to go try the Traverse City cherry whiskey, because it's literally, it's not overpowering. It's not overly sweet. And it makes a great Manhattan, because as we all know, I like to use cherries in my Manhattans instead of orange. So I use cherry bitters instead of orange bitters. And I don't even need bitters when I use this for my Manhattans, my perfect Manhattans.
I was thinking that this would go great in a barrel proof old fashioned as a bit of a,
well,
almost a
and it
sweetener.
happens to be like one of the best selling probably drinks over at the Outpost where I get to go. Thank God you guys created the Outpost, because so I can visit you more. Is the cherry sour. Like this you wouldn't think of it, but the cherry making a sour with this is amazing.
Enough with the Michigan flexing, Jason. Jesus.
I only get to do this. This is the first time I get to do this. So you will be quiet and let me flex, and I will never get to again.
So Jason,
again. Don't say
Jason,
never.
Jason, can I flex with you?
Yes.
Guys, the cherry whiskey is the best-selling craft spirit in the state of Michigan. It outsells Woodford. It outsells a lot of big brands. I take this, and I get a little emotional about it, because it's, for us, it's a very big deal, but it is the most valued craft spirit across every distillery and other big distilleries. It sells more continuously than any other. And it's a great gateway spirit to get people who don't know the complexities, like the barrel proof bourbon or the barrel proof rye. Like, you're not just going to dive into that, but to get you comfortable with a whiskey, the cherry whiskey is what you lean on.
You know, I've actually used the cherry whiskey as a mixer for the barrel proof, because if the barrel proof is a little bit too hot for some, then I bring it down with this, but it gives like a little extra, flavor for people that aren't at our level, that, need a little bit more sweetness. And it's actually very good if you mix it up.
Heck yeah.
How does the cherry compare to your apple as far as process and flavor and all that?
That's actually a great question. Very similar. The cherry is more subtle than the apple. The apple, it's just it's kind of a bit more of a spike of the flavor, but they're built the same. They're infused the same way. it's the same steeping process for the whiskey and the fruit. The cherry is one variety of cherries. The apple is 3 varieties of apples into the whiskey and then bottled. I mean, I guess at this point we're kind of the opinion that it's a slightly different demographic, but we're still learning.
And is the apple only available at the distillery? I forget.
It is slowly expanding into distribution across the country.
Okay.
Yep.
California? Los Angeles?
I don't think so. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it's not in California yet.
All right, we have to talk to your people.
Talk to them. Well, let's make it happen.
Yeah, I think the apple reminds me more of taking actual apple juice and mixing it with bourbon, flavor wise.
Yeah,
it's nice. It's got a little bit more proof on it. I think it's still at actual 80. I went to go look and I realized I drank all mine, so I don't have any more of that one.
That'll happen.
Oh, well, I would love to try the apple because I do have a really good apple bourbon punch recipe that is amazing. But I've had to put in things like, I hate to say this, Fireball, and I don't want to use Fireball. And I've also had to use like Apple Orchard cider. But I would really like to try this recipe with just your apple bourbon because I think it would make it not so sweet. And for those of us who are, above 25 and can't just drink sweets anymore, I think that would be amazing.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't want to have any April Fool's shenanigans again this time.
Man, that was really good. That was a very good dessert.
That sucked.
I'm talking about the whiskey we had today. That's
all
really
lies, Lori. Because she's making a pie now.
Yeah, I actually am making a pie for Carrie, just for Carrie. I have all the stuff. She's going to get it next week when she comes to the pickup.
Wait, my name's not. You said my name wrong.
Well, you need to come to the pickup and we'll just pull out the tables, get the chairs, pull out some plates,
All right, I'll be there on Saturday.
I'll make ham pies.
Oh, I forgot to do almost the most important thing. Ba-bam.
The poll.
Oh,
You gotta pick
that
one.
one. I don't know.
That is a hard question.
I love them also.
I wanted to put. I normally would have put
Which one did you pick?
separate poll, but
Okay, tell me.
together, could it actually? It's not like it's a liqueur, but it's not a liqueur. It's in the most positive light. This is so much better than I expected. In the most nice way possible.
That is exactly what Chef Louise Leonard says when she tasted it to cook with it on our podcast.
Yeah, you expect, oh, cherry whiskey, ooh, and then you're like, oh.
Yeah, comparing that to like a cherry liqueur is it's night and day. Like if I can source a bottle of that is going to take its place when I like make tiki cocktails, because I think it's got a great depth of flavor that's far better than a Luxardo liqueur or whatever else.
I could only imagine what the barrel proof is like. Seriously, I mean,
the barrel proof is, take barrel proof bourbon, like take the actual bourbon, the barrel proof bourbon itself, and then add this thread of sour cherry through it, because it really is. It's just kind of highlight note. And that's a really nice thing about it's nuanced and it's flex, but it's like, I live here and this is all I have is a 200 milliliter bottle of it.
Showing off.
Yeah, this is all I get. Because when they announced they were selling it at the Outpost in the distillery, the line was blocks long.
What? I believe it.
For the morning they released it. Like when they release stuff, it goes blocks long. Now, the one thing that I am hoping that you all release wider is that I think you guys could actually do it is the gin, because that's the other thing is like as a group, as a whiskey group, they created a gin that whiskey drinkers will absolutely adore. And I really hope that one day they get to start expanding that one out to you all too, because it's just delicious.
But we've Vadima's kind of turned us on to a couple gins. One that I am in love with, that whenever I'm outside grilling, I'm doing a cocktail, I have that. I won't mention its name, but no. Bring it on.
No, it's Chris. Can you tell us about your
send it to
gin?
me.
So there's a Traverse City gin, question mark.
Oh, I'm thrilled at the way you asked that question. There's not a Traverse City gin. There is a verse gin. So Traverse, it is a subsection of our brand. It's part of our it's the one and only product that is part of the experimental series,
Right.
called Verse Gin, and it's a barrel-aged gin, very wood forward, cedar, cherry bark, cherry pits infused in the both the steeping and distillation process, and it is lovely. It is not London, like a London dry in any way, shape, or form, but it's tasty. And when you make it to Michigan or otherwise, try it out. You'll enjoy it, hopefully.
Jason.
This one,
We don't usually
actually,
wait
this
that
one
long.
I actually could get and send out to you all, because it's it's not like I have to actually stand in line for it. But I genuinely believe that, Chris, if I know you'd have to ramp up production again, but I swear to God, if you guys could actually get this thing to national, it'd take over everywhere. It's delicious.
Yeah, we're there. We just went through another distilling session with it, and it's now finally in inventory and going to be distributed semi-nationwide soon, very soon. So gang, I have to jet in the next 2 minutes, but I will ask if before I jet, what are we to sip on as a last kind of cheers and hurrah for the moment? Is it going to be a barrel proof or a bottle proof?
So I will let the poll decide that. And how about
Yes, please,
We
please.
all voted, and there is a distinct favorite of the night.
Okay.
I think was the favorite of the night for this group.
What is it?
What do you think?
Barrel proof rye.
I think it's also the barrel proof rye, if I had to guess.
And you're right. It is the barrel proof rye. So
By a landslide.
Wow.
voted for barrel proof rye.
Wow.
Barrel proof bourbon is
42%.
26%, and then 16% for both bourbon and cherry.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so good product there. Incredible.
All right, cool.
Shut out.
So gang, if you don't mind, I'm gonna
Oh, that was good. That was a good one.
What are these cute little bottles you're drinking out of?
Those are the sample
there-
bottles. Those are the media sample bottles. I had
Oh, well, I'm not
three.
media. I don't get sample bottles. Stop.
Well, you're head of production of this, so
Agreed. I'll get my number. I need media bottles.
they come in a cute little 3-pack with this cute little. It's adorable.
So I'm
It is
curious,
adorable.
who had trouble deciding between picking the barrel proof rye or the barrel proof bourbon?
Oh yeah.
I was like, it could have gone either way. I feel
I
like.
Here's
totally
my
agree
thing.
with you, Matthew. It was tough.
Yeah.
It is tough, but I love the cherry so much and nobody else has it. Nobody else does it, and nobody
Not
else
like
makes
that.
it like this. So
For me, it's
as much
have
as
a
I love
bottle of-
the others, I'm always raving about this cherry.
I
For me, I
totally
have a-
agree with you, Carrie. I got turned onto it by accident and went home and put it over an ice cube, crystal clear format ice cube.
Large format, crystal clear
It
ice.
was amazing. Yes, I loved it. And I think it's the only bottle I've actually finished all by myself.
Oh,
Only bottle. Oh wow. Okay, well
Nice.
you'll have to come over here because I do that all the time.
yeah. Thank you,
Well,
Carrie.
For me, I've had the barrel proof bourbon before.
Is
I've got
that
a
an
bottle
odd
sitting
thing?
over
I
on my
feel
cart,
bad now.
and it's the ride.
I
is just
share,
plus.
I share.
So, hey, Chris, I know you have to jet. You took
Yeah.
the time out of your vacation with the wife and friends. We really do appreciate, you sharing the brand with us and the story, the origin stories, and being a little bit, the behind the scenes of how you guys did it, and that you're focused on keeping it in the family, hopefully for generations. I mean, you don't even look a day over 35, so I think that's going to be a long, long time, and I'm really looking forward to it. And we'd love to have you back, particularly
What's
when
the
you can,
apple?
help bring out lots of cherry whiskey and goodies.
An apple whiskey.
Thank you. So a few things. One, thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm blessed and I appreciate being able to spend this time with you guys and just talk about whiskey. It's the passion that we all agree on and enjoy. Two, if you're feeling like you need to get away from wherever you're at in the country, TVC is the airport code. CF@tcwhiskey.com is my email address. 231-883-9705. Text me, come visit. We love hosting. I would love to host you in person now or a year from now when our new shop is open. It will be wonderful. It'll be marvelous. But what we do now is also great and would be very enjoyable for anybody here to experience. We're intimate, we're vulnerable with these conversations, we're extremely transparent, and we love cherries, we love fruit and apples. And we do this infusion process proper and unlike anybody in the country. So if you're intrigued and you're feeling frisky, come drink the whiskey in Traverse City, please.
Thank you so much,
That's
Chris.
a great tagline, Chris.
Chris, when's the best time to visit Traverse?
Not in January, February, or March, but after that, the door's open.
Awesome. Thank you so much for spending time with us. We really appreciate it. All the best to you and your friends. We thank them for allowing us some time with you. Cheers to you. Cheers to some great whiskey and to meeting you in person sometime soon.
Cheers, guys. Much love.
Thank you so
Take
much.
care.
Thank you, Chris. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.